From the year 2018 up into the year 2020, we were able to watch the Orlando Magic be a competitive franchise being led by Nikola Vucevic and Aaron Gordon. And in those 2 years, they were able to get to the NBA playoffs, where unfortunately, both of those years, they came up short in the first round. And after the year 2020, the Orlando Magic as an organization, they came to the conclusion that Vucevic and Aaron Gordon, they weren't going to be the answers long term. So they decided to go ahead and hit the reset button. And this is in 2020. Here we are about 4 years later, and the Orlando Magic are absolutely destroying their rebuilding process. We look at them right now, look at them this season. Not only are they one of the best young and up and coming teams in all of the NBA, but they've been able to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Right now they have a record of 45-31. They've won 7 out of their last 10 ball games. They're on a 3-game winning streak, and also they sit at 4th place in the Eastern Conference. So if the season was to end right now, the Orlando Magic would be facing the New York Knicks in the first round. So this has been a very impressive season so far for a very young ball club. And this season has been very legit for the Orlando Magic. Even though this is a young team, this is a team that has a brand of basketball, that has an identity, that has a certain style of basketball. And what makes the Orlando Magic so unique, we look at their starting 5, they have a huge front court. They play essentially 3 guys that are 6'10" or taller, with Franz Wagner at the 3, Paolo Banchero at the 4, and Wendell Carter at the 5. And this size, it causes a lot of problems for opposing teams' offense. The Orlando Magic as a team, they rank 2nd in the NBA in defensive rating, and they rank top 10 in the NBA when it comes to steals per game. And it makes sense when you have 3 athletic bigs like Wendell Carter, Paolo Banchero, and Franz Wagner. All 3 of these guys are very athletic, very mobile, and they have the ability to move their feet. And then also when you have Jalen Suggs on the back end, the pest that he is on the defensive side of the ball, it makes sense that you rank number 2 in the NBA in defensive rating. But this is how the Orlando Magic have been able to win ball games this year, relying on their defense, relying on their physicality, and relying on their size. Because we look at the Orlando Magic, this is a team that has struggled on the offensive side of the ball this season. And I think that in itself right there makes the Orlando Magic season even more important, because like we just said, they're struggling offensively, but they've been able to build a brand, play a style of basketball that has allowed them to win a lot more games than they won last year and be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They are a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, but they struggle on the offensive side of the ball, and this is a very young team. So I think that right there speaks volumes. And we look at the Orlando Magic, I kind of think they're still in the earlier stages of the rebuilding process, because we look at them, they haven't really went out in free agency or in the offseason and made any crazy moves yet to bring in some high-level veteran talent. And we all know that could be the biggest difference from a young team being a decent team and being a really good team. So we haven't seen the Orlando Magic make any crazy moves in free agency just yet. They just have their young talent, their young raw talent out there, and they've been able to figure things out, and they've been able to win ball games. When it comes to young talent on the Orlando Magic, I think it's only fair that we start off with talking about Paolo Banchero, because this is the best talent that the Orlando Magic has had since Dwight Howard. I believe Paolo Banchero is that good, and it's crazy. We look back at the 2022 NBA draft, a lot of people were saying that there was really no generational talent in that draft, or there was no players that were going to be able to come in and reshift a franchise, and boy, were they completely wrong. And back in 2022, even I thought that was kind of crazy looking at Paolo Banchero. We talked about him a lot on the channel, and he's just simply something that we have not seen before. We look at his rookie year, he broke so many records, he had so many accolades, he put his name in high places with other NBA all-time greats. Just a fantastic rookie season. But we look at Paolo Banchero, and he really is a special specimen. He's 6'10", a lean 250 pounds, and he can literally do everything on the offensive side of the ball in his very own unique way. My favorite part of Paolo Banchero's game is what he can do on that low post. He is a very dangerous low post player, tremendous footwork. He can finish with brute force. He has a very soft touch around the rim. He has the post fade to his game. He can do it all out of the post. And then also what he can do from the perimeter. He is very shifty. You will probably see it in the clips that I put in this video today, but not only does he breaks downs, not only is he breaking guys down with his ability to handle the basketball, but it's some of the smaller perimeter players in the NBA. So being 6'10", 250, being able to take guys on the low block and then also take smaller guys out on the perimeter and dance on them, I think that's crazy. And then he just has an amazing feel for the game. When he doesn't have the ball in his hand, he knows when to cut. He knows how to make reads with his passing ability. So Paolo Banchero, he's a very special talent, and I definitely think he's going to be a player, and he already has, a player that's going to reshift things for the Orlando Magic. We saw him win 34 games his rookie season. This season we have about five or four games remaining maybe. He's only missed 2 games on this year, by the way, but the Orlando Magic, they've won 45 games with Paolo Banchero as the best player on this team. So he's been fantastic for the Orlando Magic. He made the All-Star game this year. In just his second year, he's putting up 23 points per game to go along with 5 assists and also 7 rebounds. So I think a lot of credit goes to Paolo Banchero. He has a lot on his shoulders as a 21-year-old leading his team to the playoffs. So a huge round of applause to Paolo Banchero. When we look at some of the other young talent on this squad, I think the Orlando Magic have already found a long-term partner for Paolo Banchero, and that's Franz Wagner. And we can make an argument too that Franz Wagner, he falls under that category of being a special specimen with his size, being 6'10". What he can do on the offensive side of the basketball with the ball in his hands is truly unique. And the best part of his game is his ability to get downhill and finish around the rim, whether he's doing it as a cutter or whether he's doing it with the basketball in his hand. He has a tremendous feel for the game when it comes to finishing downhill, finishing around the rim. He has tremendous patience. He can finish with both hands, and then his footwork is so elite. He can Euro, he can hop step, he can do it all when it comes to finishing around the rim. And then Franz Wagner, he's probably been one of the most underrated defenders in the NBA this season. Really recently, he's been playing defense at a very high level, and then the entire season just taking on different defensive challenges for the Orlando Magic. He's been able to guard different positions. He's been a great off-ball defender, and just a very, very solid player for the Orlando Magic. And I think him and Paolo Banchero, I think these two guys who are still super young in the NBA, I think they can work. I think they can work really well together long term. We've seen the Orlando Magic be some really good teams this season just off the sheer will of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. So I think these two guys are definitely the two building blocks going forward. And we could take a peek at Franz Wagner numbers on the season. He's averaging around 20 points per game, and he's shooting 48% from the field, 84% from the free throw line, and just 28% from 3. And it's not like Franz Wagner cannot shoot the ball and guys are just leaving him wide open and daring him to shoot. The shot is just not falling right now. And really the month of March, it was a really tough shooting in the month of March for Franz Wagner, but I'm definitely a believer in that number being able to come up. So I think Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, they played a huge role in the Orlando Magic becoming a competitive team once again. And then there's other young, valuable players on this team. We look at a guy like Jonathan Isaac, who I like a lot. He's been able to play 53 games this season, which is a blessing. Which is a blessing for him. I hope he can stay healthy enough to help the Orlando Magic in the playoffs, because with a player of his size, athleticism, and his ability to play defense, he can be very valuable in playoff basketball. Jalen Suggs has been tremendous this season for the Orlando Magic. He's become one of my favorite players to watch. He's just a tenacious defender, and he makes life a living hell for that opposing team's point guard. And yes, in the Orlando Magic, they have a bunch of guys that we haven't even brought up yet Yeah, a bunch of young guys with raw talent that has been able to make an impact in helping this team win ball games this year. We haven't even talked about Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr., the brother of Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, Anthony Black. I like him a lot. I think he has a lot of upside. But the Orlando Magic, they're just in a great spot right now. We talked about them kind of still being in the earlier stages of that rebuilding phase, where it's just a bunch of young raw talent on the team, but they've been able to win games and be competitive. What I would like to see the Orlando Magic bring in is just some more three-point shooters. I think that's the only thing this team needs right now. So it's going to be really interesting to watch them throughout the playoffs, and then also watch how aggressive they be in the offseason. But if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.